Disclaimer: this is an extract from the book.
Title: The Devoted Bride or Faith and Fidelity. A Love Story. Contributor names: St. George Tucker. Beginning of the extract. Here, happy in the retrospection of a well-spent life, and cheered and animated by the affection of a devoted wife and lovely daughter. The old loyalist looked forward with a tranquil heart to the change which his increasing years warned him could not be far distant. His wife, a notable dame of the olden time, who was selected, like the wife of the good vicar, for the qualities which were best, was one of those thrifty, bountiful bodies, who care but little for the government under which they live, so long as their larders are well stored with provisions, and those around them are happy and contented. Possessed of a good mind, and of a kind heart, she devoted herself to the true objects of a woman's life, and reigned supreme at home. Even when her husband had been immersed in the cares and stirring events of the Revolution, and she was forced to hear the many causes of complaint urged against the government and stoutly combated by the colonel. The good dame had felt far more interest in market money than in ship money, in the neatness of her own chamber, than in the purity of the Star Chamber, and, in short, forgot the great principles of political economy in her love for the more practical science of domestic economy. We have said that at home Mrs. Temple reigned supreme, and so indeed she did. Although the good colonel held the reins, she showed him the way to go, and though he was the nominal ruler of his little household, she was the power behind the throne, which even the throne submissively acknowledged to be greater than itself. Yet, for all this, Mrs. Temple was an excellent woman, and devoted to her husband's interests. Perhaps it was but natural that, although with a willing heart, and without a murmur, she had accompanied him to Virginia, she should, with a laudable desire to impress him with her real worth, advert more frequently than was agreeable to the heavy sacrifice which she had made. Nay more, we have but little doubt that the bustle and self-annoyance, the flurry and bluster, which always attended her domestic preparations, were considered as a requisite condiment to give relish to her food. We are at least certain of this, that her frequent strictures on the dress, and criticisms on the manners of her husband, arose from her real pride, and from her desire that to the world he should appear the noble perfection which he was to her. This the good colonel fully understood, and though sometimes chafed by her incessant taunts, he knew her real worth, and had long since learned to wear his fetters as an ornament. Since their arrival in Virginia, Heaven had blessed the happy pair with a lovely daughter, a bliss for which they long had hoped and prayed, but hoped and prayed in vain. If hope deferred, however, maketh the heart sick, it loses none of its freshness and delight when it is at last realized, and the fond hearts of her parents were overflowing with love for this their only child. At the time at which our story commences, Virginia Temple, she was called after the fair young colony which gave her birth, had just completed her 19th year. Reared for the most part in the retirement of the country, she was probably not possessed of those artificial manners, which disguise rather than adorn the gay butterflies that flutter in the fashionable world, and which passes for refinement. But such conventional proprieties no more resemble the innate refinement of soul which nature alone can impart, than the plastered rouge of an old faded dowager resembles the native rose which blushes on a healthful maiden's cheek. There was in lieu of all this, in the character of Virginia Temple, a freshness of feeling and artless frankness, and withal a refined delicacy of sentiment and expression, which made the fair young girl the pride and the ornament of the little circle in which she moved. End of extract. Write in comment the format that interests you, Epub or PDF, and we will send it to you for free. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next ebook. Thank you for your attention.